I tore my ACL senior year of high school.
Why is that
first?
I wasn't ready. I was not ready.
Y'all are tough.
The first.
That happened.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Scarlet Sermons. I'm very pleased to announce this is our first episode of season 2. Clap it up, everyone. For today's episode, we are in St. Mark's Coptic Orthodox Church. I think we're in Virginia, right? This is a long drive. I have no idea. Honestly, where we are. But we just drove. Drove. It's a little drive, but thank God, we made it.
Little drive
Up to Mark. Yeah. It was. Thank God we made it safely. We have, before we begin, my name is Anthony.
My name is Mark.
Mina.
I'm George.
And we are very blessed to be joined with a special guest. If you'd like to introduce yourself.
Hi, everyone. I am Father Elijah Estafanous.
Father Elijah Estafanous.
A lot of hype in here.
Abuna, would you like to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. First off, I'm really happy to be with you guys today.
Happy to have you with us.
Thank you guys for coming all the way out here. I know that the drive from New Jersey to Virginia is not the greatest, but it's a straight line. Turnpike, not too hard. I've driven this drive 1,000 times in my life. It's very frequent drive for me. I'm originally from the Northeast. I'm originally from Staten Island, New York, and I moved here in 2012 to help establish a local Coptic church here. And I've been serving here in St. Mark since July of 2020 as a priest. And I am married, 2 children, boy-girl twins.
Awesome. Twins?
Yeah.
I'm a boy-girl twin.
No way?
Yeah.
I have 2 4-year-olds, boy and a girl. So yeah, it's good to be with you guys. It's a little about myself.
Thank you so much, Abuna. Seeing that this is our first episode of season 2, we wanted to try something a little bit different, and we wanted to establish a theme for the rest of our episodes for the season. Mina, if you wanted to tell us about the theme and a little bit what it's about.
Through the many suggestions we received, the theme is how to carry our cross. So I guess to get started, Abuna, would you like to give us like an introduction about what the phrase means in general?
I think when you think of the subject a cross is not something that is in historical context something that is pleasant, right? People would run away from crosses, right? In fact, when they would see somebody being crucified in the Roman times, it was like the ultimate form of shame, ultimate form of humiliation. So the irony here is that Christ calls us to take up our cross and to follow him. And I think the thing that we need to ask ourselves, anyone who's listening or even the 5 of us who are sitting here, is what are the things in our lives that are hindering us, or what are the things in our lives that we hold too closely to our heart that hinder us from being able to follow Christ? And in a way of us letting go of those things, it feels like a burden. It feels like a cross. It feels like something that is heavy for us to do. I don't think anyone in this room is literally going to go to the place of crucifixion. However, there's a way that you can crucify yourself on a daily basis. For example, you are used to always needing to give your opinion in life. So you like to always have the final say. A way of crucifying yourself is by not always giving your opinion. Maybe you like to overeat. You love like Korean barbecue or something like that, or you like to go to those open buffets in New York and New Jersey. But maybe your form of crucifixion is learning to self-restrain, to not overeat. Maybe you're used to, just always being on social media and kind of get caught in the habit of swiping nonstop. Maybe your form of crucifixion is basically saying, instead of me picking up my phone, I'm going to pick up my Bible. And what's the point of being crucified? Like the point of carrying a cross, or the point of is to follow him. Like, so what are the things that are hindering us from being able to follow him? And I think that's really the intro. What do you guys think?
Yes. So when I was thinking about the term originally, the carrying your cross, like I didn't think of it as, like sacrificing things to get closer to God. It was like, I don't know, like I saw like the picture, like there's always this like one diagram picture cartoon thing of everyone carrying their cross, and there's this one guy who's like chopping down his cross to like make it easier, while like, and then when it gets like the little like bridge in the road, he can't cross with everyone else. So like, I don't know, I guess I didn't make the correlation before that it's like sacrificing things.
Yeah, I mean, I think even that guy who's carrying his cross, why does he want to cut it down? Because it's
Make it easier for
it's
him.
hard,
Too heavy.
right? It's hard to let go of certain things. And listen, Christ never calls us to let go of things that are beneficial to us. He calls us to let go of things that are hindering us from being able to know him. He says, he who will lose his life will find it, right? So if you lose the parts of your life that are hindering you from following Christ, then you'll find actually the greatest fulfillment in life. Let me give you an example. Many people in our culture, we live in like what we call the hustle culture, right? Like the hustle culture is like work hard, make money, grind, do this, do that. Mm-hmm. But the reality is that when you look at the long-term trajectory of people living in that culture, right? If I have everything that I could ever dream of in terms of material possession, if I have every relationship I could ever want, you know, people are always kind of searching, chasing after girls, and they get this girl and that girl, and this girl and that girl. If I have every career success and accolade, what else is there left? Right? And ultimately, you find people that have millions and millions and millions of dollars, tons of fame, tons of popularity, tons of everything. And in the end, they're miserable and they're depressed. Why? Because we're not meant to live self-centered, self-focused lives. That's not the way God created us. God created us for the other. He said it's not good for man to be alone, right? Because he knew that if we live self-centered lives, then the reality is that we become very selfish, and selfishness is the worst form of life. So the cross is letting go of those things that are hindering you from being who God created you to be. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. So the guy who's cutting down his cross and trying to cross over, he's cutting it down because he doesn't want to let go of those things. And ultimately, he can't get to where he needs to go because he's been so focused on trying to make his life easier rather than being okay with sometimes the difficulties and the circumstance that we all go through. Mm-hmm. I don't know if that makes sense.
No, it does. It does.
Yeah. I just wanted to add on the, the self-discipline part. I was just speaking to one of my friends, a couple of weeks ago, and it was just like, we just ended the Nativity feast, and we just fasted, and there's, the big Lent coming up, and he's kind of complaining.
February, man, end of February. Give us
yeah. So he was like complaining on like, why is there not a longer break? And, he was like, he wanted a break. He was like, genuinely, he's tired. When you eat potatoes every day, it's kind of hard. But, I told him, and I had my brother there, and he said, it's not about the food, and it's not about that. It's about the fasting of the heart. And then he said, well, okay, so why do we incorporate food? And then this part comes up. It's because, like, if you don't do the simple little things that are going to discipline you every day, I mean, something like food is an essential, right? And so if you don't discipline yourself in the essentials, you can't discipline yourself in the advanced. So it's like, you have to start, this is like the bare minimum that we, don't fast, that we fast with food. And so that way we can build up our levels. That's like the bare minimum level. And I just wanted to ask you about that. What do you think?
Yeah. I mean, I don't think us being vegan adds anything to the holiness of God. Right? Like, does God need our food?
No.
He doesn't. Does he, like, there are hipsters in Brooklyn. People have heard me say this all the time. There are hipsters in Brooklyn who are vegan, right? Like, if you go, there's all these vegan spots in New York, and you get amazing vegan food. So it's not about the food. The food is part of it, because if you can say no to a cheeseburger, you can say no to a lot more. But if you can't say no to a cheeseburger, it's going to be a lot harder for you to say no to larger things. But I would like to kind of change the framework a bit. Maybe instead of us looking at it as I'm giving up food, maybe I'm saying it's an offering to you, Lord. It's an offering of love to you. The thing that I love the most, which is eating that cheeseburger or eating the chicken or eating whatever, I'm offering back to you, knowing, Lord, that this is something that is so valuable to me, that I really like, that I think, like, even sometimes our days are planned around food, right? Like, we're going to eat today. Like, I'm going to take the focus from it being about food in my day and redirect it back to you. So everything I will say, every form of asceticism, of self-discipline, asceticism is like a self-discipline. Every form of self-discipline is to be an offering of love to God, because asceticism without love is demonic, right? So if I'm vegan and I never pray, what good is it? If I control my tongue in front of people, but behind closed doors, I'm cursing out my parents and my siblings and all these different things, what good is that, right? Like it requires, any offering of love is required for it to be coupled in love, meaning you have to be connected to Christ in doing whatever offering you're offering. So whether it be fasting, whether it be prayer, whether it be liturgical life, whether it be silencing the tongue, all of that needs to be an offering of love to God, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
It's not meant to be just like, oh, God wants to make our life miserable, so the church makes us fast 280 days of the year, or whatever days of the year it is.
Right.
It's not meant to torture you. It's meant to help you grow to be more and more in the image of God. That makes sense?
Yeah. So far, I've heard all these things of like sacrificing things that matter to you to get closer to God and to carry your cross to follow Him. But say for someone who who isn't familiar or hasn't been accustomed to, letting go of these things, it's a lot easier said than done to just let go of something that you're doing all the time. So what would you say to somebody, or what advice would you give to, I guess, make it easier or give them a reason to let go of these things to carry their cross and to get closer to God?
Nothing that you're giving up is actually good for you. Let's be real, right? So if I'm telling you, like during, say, for example, in any fasting period, I'm telling you, slow down on your social media. Like if you take that and you just couple it with like all modern psychology and what they're doing about studying social media and the impacts, like, there's a book called The Anxious Generation. It's talking about how the generation, what year are you guys born in?
2004.
05.
So you guys are the anxious generation.
I read
Probably.
that book, actually.
You guys are the generation that grew up in social media, grew up in comparing yourselves to every other person.
Yeah.
So your natural baseline is a little bit more anxious because you've been only seeing everything in relative to what is going on in the digital world. Yeah. So what we're saying to you is, hey, slow down on the social media during Lent. Maybe give up some social media during Lent in order for you to have some freedom for you to actually live. Right, versus constantly be comparing. Maybe for example, you're so used to building your day around food, and like, oh, I can't wait till I go eat this, or I can't wait till I go eat this. Maybe what you can do in this season is slow down on your thought process about food, and maybe focus on spending time with your brothers and sisters and friends of yours, or praying, or fasting, or doing, or serving, or doing something that's beneficial for your soul. Anything that we're called to give up is not because God is a joy kill. It's because He's trying to actually free you. Maybe I have a bad habit where I'm addicted to something, whether it be a substance, whether it be images, whether it be whatever. Maybe I need in this period to discipline my body and to actually ask God to bring me to a space of freedom. Yeah. And that's all that it is. It's like, listen, you be real with yourself. Like, just genuinely be real with yourself. Is anything that God calls you to give up beneficial for you?
No.
In heaven, but not on earth.
But even on earth, like if God tells you do not lie, like why is lying a bad thing? Does it make God again less holy?
No.
So why is lying a bad thing? Why, melek? Like what's your deal with it? What's your deal with lying? Like if I lie or get it, like what's the problem? It's not hurting nobody. It's because lying makes you inauthentic. It makes you inauthentic, and when you lie about one thing, you get accustomed to lying, and the more you lie, the more you become a liar. It says no liar will enter the kingdom of heaven. Why? Because you forgot what the truth is. And if you forgot what the truth is, you can no longer delineate from what is true and what is false. And God is like, no, I don't want that. I don't want that. I don't want that for my children. I want them to be true and to be sincere and to be 100%. Honest, because I created them the way that they are, and there's no need for them to lie. Yeah. You can take any sin. Thou shalt not commit adultery. Why does God not want us to commit adultery? Is it because He's like, I really just want them to be in purely monogamous relationships? Like the world, Abuna, God is so old-fashioned. Like monogamy is not a thing anymore. People are like in swinging relationships and open relationships. I get crazy, stupid stuff. But let me ask you a question. As a priest, I've seen this clearly. How many people would you say in your own lives, people that you've connected with, that have gone into relationships that have messed up with a girl or something like that? And the burden that they carry, or the girl in particular, the burden that she carries is so heavy. And I've had young women and young men sit on my couch in my office crying because of the heartbreak that they felt about being in a relationship too deep before they actually should have been ready for it. So God is like, come on, man. I'm telling you, do not commit adultery, because I don't want you to be in a relationship that's not safe in order for you to have the space to be fully known and to be loved. You guys see where I'm trying to go with this?
Yeah.
Like, the laws of the Lord are not burdensome. They're meant to free you and actually meant to make you live a life that is whole, if that makes sense.
I like that one. How do you think like today's society is like designed to sort of keep you from that freedom? Because I like the way you said that like these things that we do in the church actually free you. Some people think that it's kind of diverting them off their path. How do you think like today's society prevents you from going to that freedom?
I mean, this is why I always will say that the law of the Lord is like signposts along the way, right? Like, you're on this journey and you're trying to get to Virginia today. You guys drove 3.5 hours to get here today. Mark drove 3.5 hours. Y'all were asleep in the car.
Yeah, I was.
In this 3.5 hours, in order for Mark to get to Virginia, to Fairfax, Virginia, it required him to follow signs. And the signs... Maybe. He's cracking up.
No signs are following.
He listened to GPS notifications kind of directing him. But he needs to know how to follow the sign with the GPS, right?
Yeah.
You wouldn't have got here without it.
I think it was speed signs.
But the point is that the signposts along the way are to direct you to your final destination. Right? So the laws of the Lord are not burdensome. You won't be like, oh man, it's so difficult to follow these signs when you're driving. You'll be like, no, I need to follow these signs because I need to get where I'm trying to go.
Yeah.
So the world has made us believe that YOLO, like, live your best life now, like, you only live once, be free, do whatever you want to do. But the reality is that's why we have the most miserable, the most depressed generation in the history of America.
Yeah.
Because we think that actually, like, you guys ever heard of the word hedonism?
No.
Hedonism is like the meaning of like living for just your senses, like what you feel, like what you want, like for pleasure.
That's a trend actually coming up, Abuna. I noticed it's like my beliefs. It's like it's relative. It's more. I think Cliff, if you guys know him, Cliff.
Ask Cliff.
Yeah, the pastor. He said it's called moral relativism, and it's like it's my morals. It's what I believe. What you believe is different than what I believe, and that's why we can't agree on certain things, and we can just agree to disagree. You know,
my truth is my truth.
Yeah,
you don't have to agree with me, but there's objective truth.
And I think that's one of the things in today's society where it's like preventing you from looking at those signposts and telling you just send it down the highway.
Yeah, because it's
like
easy. It's easy to just live. It's easy to just live according to what you want, right?
Yeah.
But let me ask you a question. Maybe y'all can tell me this. What are some things in your life that you felt that you wanted to do, but in not doing it, you actually found yourself to be more free? If you guys are awake.
I'm awake.
I want to make us think here.
That's a deep question.
That's a nice question. Yeah.
You said like you wanted like something to happen.
Yeah, something
But
that
it
you wanted
didn't.
to do, or you had some sort of particular thing that you felt like was maybe there was a desire that you had. I really, really want this, and then it didn't happen, or maybe it did happen and you wish that it hadn't happened. You know, I don't mean to put you guys on the spot personally, but just think about it, right? Have you had moments like that in your life?
It just happened last semester with me, at least. You know, I wanted a certain grade. I didn't get it. I was just really upset because I thought I got it, and I prayed really hard for it. But then I ended up realizing it's not going to affect me that much, and I actually like the way it came out because I don't think I would have learned what I got from it. Now that I know these things, I don't think I would have learned it at all in my journey in college and stuff. So
That's a good one. Yeah. I wanted something so bad it didn't work out the way that I wanted, but I learned throughout the process of going through it of what's important and what's not important. I learned how to handle disappointment.
Yeah.
I learned how to turn to God even though the outcome wasn't what I wanted it to be. How many people had the same exact outcome as you did and been like, God, I prayed and forget you. I'm not going to pray anymore. Right? Many people. You carry a slight cross, a little cross of a disappointment. And you're like, nah, I'm out, God. Forget this.
Yeah.
I mean, Mama also says no a lot too. So even when I want things,
Yeah. Something similar, like to your question, happened with me when we got assigned our services. So, like before we got assigned like our servants prep services, I also served at hand. It's pre-K in kindergarten. So like I was already like serving like little kids. But in my mind, like throughout the whole entire servants prep, I wanted to serve like a little kids who were a little bit older because I thought like that's where I was meant to be. Like I talk or I can communicate easier with the kids who are older. And I ended up getting placed into service. I was like, it was first grade. First grade Sunday school. So as soon as I got placed, I was like really frustrated, and I was like why do I have to serve little kids? Like this is not what I want to do. And I talked to like the head of service, like, can you switch me? And he was like, just wait, like do one cycle and see like what you think. And now that I sat down and accepted like this is where God wanted me, like I wouldn't want to serve any other like grade. But like the people I serve with are amazing. The kids I'm learning so much. Like it's awesome. So
But the disappointment, in a little bit of suffering, you learned what you needed to. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
It's great.
Yeah.
I like that, Anthony.
Is it my turn?
Yeah, that's your turn.
I was obviously close with like everyone here, like more people from EB after high school, because like every day after school, even the summer, we just hang out the whole time. College started, all of them went to Rutgers, New Brunswick. I am now in NJIT. So I think the whole time I was, even like especially the first year, I was complaining the whole time why I wasn't with them, why like the purpose of me being away from them more was. But I guess even now, I heard even from a lot of people, like God puts you like through hard times for like for you to like improve, or for you to excel in something. So I think now looking back, I think it was, although I didn't like it at first, I think it was for my own good. I learned a lot of stuff. I got closer to God because like I didn't have my friends to rely on more, so I had to rely on someone else, which was God at that time.
So, all the crosses that you guys have carried, and these are little crosses, right?
Yeah.
Imagine the cross of like a sick loved one. Imagine the cross of getting a terminal diagnosis or illness. Imagine the cross of, I don't know, fill in the blank, something difficult. Imagine the cross of being accused of something that you didn't do. Imagine the cross of being let go of a job that you were working so hard. It was your dream job. There's crosses that all of us carry on a daily basis.
Yeah. When me and you were talking before we started the podcast about, is the cross really something that's always like harmful in a way? Is it?
Yeah, I mean, I think the cross is a source of joy at times, right? Because now you look back at all four of you, you all literally said different things, and you came up with different circumstances in your life that actually proved that the moment was difficult, but the long-term outcome was good.
Yeah.
Right? There are things in my life that I could look back to that happened to me maybe 15, 16 years ago. And in the time period, I'm like, come on, God, like, what's your problem? Like, why you, and by the way, it's okay to feel that way, right? Like, you read the Psalms, King David says, my God, why are you forsaken me? Why are you so far from me? He says, how long, O Lord, will you forget me forever? How long will you, like, it's okay to have that posture with God where you're a little bit frustrated and upset in circumstances that are going on. But the byproduct is that when one endures a hardship, when they look back, hindsight is 20/20. Like, there's a great story of King David when he was a young shepherd boy. Mm-hmm. And when he was a young shepherd boy, one day, a lion came and attacked his sheep. And he killed that lion. Another time, a bear came and attacked that sheep. And he killed that bear. And you look at that circumstance, you're like, dang, that's pretty crazy. First off, the fact that he killed a lion and a bear is pretty gangster, right? Like, yeah. But what did that do for King David? It prefaced him. It was like his first encounter with something really, really difficult that led him to be able to endure lots of difficulties throughout his life. In fact, he references this moment. You guys remember when he references that moment? He references the killing and the lion and the bear when he's standing before King Saul.
Mm-hmm. Asking for permission to...
Exactly. He's asking permission to go fight Goliath. And King Saul says, you're a young, like, nobody. Like, what are you going to do? You're like a tiny little boy. And he's like, I got this. In fact, one time I killed a lion and a bear when I was a young shepherd boy. And the God who delivered me from the lion and the bear is the same God who helped me fight this uncircumcised Philistine. And so the confidence or the experience with God in the past gave him the confidence in God in the present. The experiences that you have with God in the hardships give you joy in the present to trust him in the new hardship that you face. So the cross is not always like, it's not always a painful thing, but it's painful. It's not painful. It's painful in the moment, but it may not be painful long term.
Yeah.
It may be something that you look back to and you see it as the most glorious. Have you guys ever heard of the book by Abuna Luke Cedros, Father Luke Cedros? It's a book called I Rejoice in My Chains. And in this book, he talks about how during the Sadat era, there was like 70 clergymen, I believe, that were incarcerated and put in prison. Just for no reason. They just locked up a bunch of bishops and priests and threw them in prison, in like a little tiny Egyptian prison. And he talks about how in that prison, the smells were bad. Like imagine you being a bunch of priests, like holy priests and bishops being stuck in a little prison cell and having to use the restroom in front of each other. The humiliation, the shame, all the different... It says that it was so suffocating that they would take their faces and put them underneath the crease of the door where there was a little tiny crack to get fresh air.
God.
Wow.
And he talks about Buna Luke. You should read this book. It's called I Rejoice in My Chains. It's translated in English. He says that those moments they look back at as the most powerful and glorious moments, because what did they do in the prison? They turned that prison into an altar. They would pray the midnight praises. They would recite scripture. They would pray the Agbeya together as clergy. And he says those moments really helped us. They were painful in the moment, but they gave us so much joy when we look back at those moments.
Wow.
How do you think we, like, so in those moments when we're really struggling and we're really like, is it really worth me stopping it and me carrying up my cross and me wanting to restrict myself? Is it really worth it in the end? So how do we like really sit and think and trust in God and say, yes, God, if I stop this, I know in the future you will protect me and it will be a better outcome than if I just continue to slay myself in sin and continue to just, fall without any, like, without any goal and without anything to look out for. Because I think that's a huge thing in our generation where there's no goal, there's no hopes, it's just a mindless scrolling, staying in bed. I know even now in our school, it's like just passing and like going. You pass, you go. Like there's no achieving the A, there's no achieving the best you can do. It's just pass and go, scroll. Like
Satisfactory.
Yeah.
Purpose. Yeah, that's the big thing.
So what's your opinion on it? What do you think? How do you think people could...
I'm a big believer for the Christian is that we live differently than the rest of the world. Meaning, does God care about whether or not you're successful?
No.
What do you think? Trick question, maybe.
Wait, successful like in money or successful in...
All the above.
God loves us, so I imagine He cares to an
as a
extent.
father.
I think
Yeah.
he cares.
Let me ask you a question. Let's follow up with that. You know in the midnight praises or in the Psalms when they say, praise him, sun and moon and stars, sleet, hail, cattle, winds.
Hills, everything.
How do those things praise him and exalt him above all?
Because
Serving their purpose.
Because what? There is creation, okay?
Serve their purpose.
They serve their purpose,
Yeah.
right? The stars twinkle, the sun shines, the cattle are there for creation or for, the food of the people. The herbs, the plants, the fields, all these different things, they have a purpose and they serve that purpose. What is the purpose of man?
To be Christ-like.
To be like Christ, but to let our light so shine before men that they may see our good works and glorify our Father in heaven. So when God gives each of us gifts and talents, the way that we shine is by utilizing them. So I'm convinced that the Christian should be the best at whatever he does. You hear me loud and clear on that. He should be the best at whatever he does. Not because he is, let me rephrase that. He should give his best to whatever he does. Meaning, if you're studying, you should give 110% to your studies. If you are a doctor, you should give 110 to being a doctor. If you are a lawyer, if you are a this, if you're that, you should give 110% because people need to distinguish that the way that you live your life is different than the rest of the people around you. And if they can't tell the difference between you as a Christian in your work or in your schools or wherever, then how are they ever going to know the difference? So, yeah, We definitely should live differently. We definitely shouldn't be those least common denominator type of people, or just trying to pass. Like, that's not doing what God created us to do. That's actually like the person who is given a talent and buries it in the sand. You know, so the Lord will come and ask us to settle our accounts with what we've done with our talents, right? And if we can say, "Oh God, you didn't give us anything," like, I gave you this, I gave you this, I gave you this, and gave you this, and you didn't do anything with it. So yeah, I don't think being the bare minimum is ever okay for a Christian. We should actually glorify God. Whether you eat, whether you drink, you should do it for the glory of the Lord. So me even eating should give glory to God. How do I do that? By giving thanks for the food, by being aware of those who prepared the food, by thinking about the farmers who had to farm to get this food to being here, by thinking about the chef or the cooks who had to put the food together to get it to this table. Everything that we do as Christians needs to be a medium of giving thanks for.
That's the mindset I think people lost. It's like those little details. It's like when you think of something as little as, oh, like, who cooked this meal? You know, it's something so, like, some people just eat, and whoever made it just goes forgotten. But I think something like that person was paying so much attention, making sure that your food wasn't burned, making sure your food tasted good, make sure that even like something as little as, you know, I did a study on this in college. Like the balancing of the amount of salt, the taste on your tongue has to be so perfect. Like when you eat something and it tastes so good, that balance has to be just perfect. Like we're talking milligrams. And some stuff like that just go forgotten in the society. I think it's very disturbing the way everything has been going with even the children. They don't even, you know,
the children are. I don't know what they're feeding.
Children are cooked.
Because they're. I mean, I think everything around them is being against them. Everything is against what, like, the parents say something, the world says something else. It's a whole different realm.
We got to do something about the children.
You gotta say
No, sorry.
He's writing it down.
Take note of it. Yeah.
That's your job, huh? You're a servant.
No, yeah, I guess it is
children,
my job.
First graders, you got to make sure that you take care of them.
Yeah, I guess.
No, but you guys actually don't realize the children are the kingdom of heaven.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Let the children come to me, for these are the kingdom of heaven.
Yeah.
So when you sit with a kid or a little kid, God starts to reveal to himself to you through the child. So yeah, kids are awesome.
Yeah. Abuna, something you said before that I thought was really beautiful was like the story about the priest all in the cell. Just how like it was such a hard time for them, but they persevered, and it really helped them like in the rest of their lives. Obviously it's so beautiful, but I feel like, I don't know, just because like I guess I'm weak, but if I was in a situation like that and I'm struggling so hard, it's kind of hard to see like the light in the situation of like if you're in such like a bad place, like it's hard to like make do with what you have and to, you know, be like, oh, just thank God. Like, what advice would you give to, I guess, see the light in every situation?
Yeah, I mean, those guys, let me not refer to them as guys, those beautiful clergy, didn't turn their prison into an altar right when they got to prison. They were accustomed to bringing Christ into every circumstance in their life, right? A person who sees that the forecast is going to be rainy does what? Prepares, brings an umbrella, right? The dummy is the person who waits till it rains to go buy an umbrella. Why? Because first off, the prices get much higher whenever, you know, it's like when people are looking to buy salt when there's a snowstorm. There's never salt, and they always upcharge for what the salt is. We, in our relationship with God, need to have a relationship with him prior to the storms happening, so that when the storms do happen, he becomes the umbrella that protects us from those storms. He becomes the umbrella that we endure those storms through. Like when the disciples were rowing on the sea, and the storms were overtaking him, and Christ was in the boat, they went and they knocked on the door and said, Lord, do you not care that we're perishing? And he says, O ye of little faith. And he looks to the storms and he says, peace be still. The storm doesn't change when Christ is with you. You could be in the middle of a storm. Doesn't change. But you become changed through the storm.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying? The disciples rowing and rowing and rowing taught them that it's difficult. You're in the middle of a storm. Who should we run to in the middle of the storm? We should run to Jesus. And when they ran to Jesus, he says, "Oh, ye of little faith." Like, you thought I was going to let you perish? I'm with you in this storm. You think I'm going to let you just, become non-existent? No, I got you. And he gets up. Peace be still. And so don't wait for a rainy day to get an umbrella. Start building your relationship with God before the rainy days, so that when the rainy days come, which they surely will come, there's no one that's immune from pain in the world. Not one person. You're prepared. And also, when you are in the middle of a suffering, look back. How many of you can tell me a story in a time in your life in which you had a difficulty and you're like, "God, you'll never get me through this. This is impossible. This is a hopeless situation." And then now you look back at that moment, you're like, "Oh man, I was like so faithless. And look how you got me through that situation and how you worked it for good." So the past gives you confidence in the present. My experience with God in the past gives me trust with him in the present.
Yeah, there came a moment recently where, actually, before the time came where I had some issues, when I was watching the show The Chosen. It put me straight to the scene where Peter was, God was standing on the water and Peter would look back, and then when I was reading my Bible, it came up again, and I was like, okay, what's going on here? 2 weeks later, dude, some things happened, and I totally forgot about that story. But then after it was over, I was like, God, you were showing me that, telling me keep your eyes on me during this, and I did it. But then he still got me through it because he didn't want me to, perish. But like it's just amazing, because I think God works that way. God doesn't, if you ask for money, he's not gonna rain hundreds of dollars on you, but he's gonna give you an opportunity to get money. And I think that's so wonderful. I think God teaches you through experience. Whatever you get in life, I think is an opportunity for a reward or let's say a result. But you don't get the things straight up, and I like that. I love that a lot about the way things work with God.
I tore my ACL senior year of high school.
Why is that first?
I wasn't ready. I was not ready.
Y'all are tough.
The
Sorry
first
that happened to you, man.
I was there. We were there. We were there.
No,
You tore it?
No.
If I watched myself tear it, I would have laughed too. Like the first 2 weeks, like I thought it was like okay, it's like whatever. But then after surgery, like the first week, it's like it was over. It was over.
He was
like,
a mess.
I took, like, they gave you medicine, right? I forgot the name. It was like really strong.
Percocet, Oxycontin.
Yeah, like one of my friends took it. They started seeing like when they woke up, they started seeing like things flying in the air. I took it, nothing happened. Like the pain was still there.
There's a tolerance level one.
I like
He's a big guy.
those 2 weeks. I was like, I'm never walking again. Like I'm like no way I'm gonna be back to normal. But we're here now.
Here you are today.
No, much better. Thank God.
But in your suffering, you now give thanks for walking, right?
Yes, every time.
Every time you get on your feet and you start moving, you feel the joy of.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So now that you know us and we answered all about our lives, so now we want to spin it on you. So in your own life personally, like how have you seen the power of the cross, and how have you seen when you struggle and you carry your cross, God has blessed you and God has continued to love you in your life?
Yeah. I'm typically the type of person that doesn't enjoy the cross. I don't think anyone does, but I'm actually honest about it. Mm-hmm. I tend to be like the King David Psalms, where I'm like get upset with God and I kind of bring my grievances to him. But every single time, God shows me my need for that cross. Yeah, I can tell you there's so many stories, there's so many different circumstances in my life, but the reality is that God is good, he's faithful, he's long-suffering, and he's slow to anger, and he's great in compassion. And there's nothing that he puts you through that he doesn't bring you through. There's no, like that's one of my favorite verses is 1 Corinthians 10:13. It says, "No temptation has overtaken you such as common to man, but God is faithful, who will not allow you to be tempted beyond what you are able. but with every temptation, he makes a way of escape that you may be able to bear it. In every struggle, every temptation, and every difficulty, and this is where people get that old quote, God doesn't give you more than you can handle. It comes from 1 Corinthians 10:13, is that God doesn't give you more than you can handle. He gives you just enough, but in every struggle that you have, he has an exit sign. In every dark room, the moment you turn the lights off, you can see that red sign to tell you how to get through that struggle, get through that dark room. But in the spiritual life, God always has the exit sign that's awaiting us, and the exit sign is him. He's the one that is able to help us navigate every circumstance through him and in him and with him. And that's what he wants all of us to continue to run after, to run towards him in a deep and intimate relationship.
Yeah, that's awesome, Abuna.
I can relate to that, Abuna. I think I'm the type of person that, when the lights are off, I try every switch before I actually go into the exit door. I try every switch before I actually, all right, you know what? Let's follow your way now,
Yeah.
I think I'm like that. I'm a very hard person to convince.
It's true. It's accurate. Not for you. I'm saying I agree with you. No, me too.
I know that about your life. You like to do all the switches.
Yeah.
You're going to get my joke. It's a bad joke. Bad joke.
Abuna, we're so blessed that we could have had this opportunity to have a conversation with you.
I don't think I answered any of your questions.
We benefited from the conversation.
Every question you guys asked me, I just circumvented somehow.
No, it was great.
Great.
Is there anything you want to leave us with, or anything else you want to say
Here.
that you want to say for this topic, or anything on your mind at all?
God is so good. He's so sweet. And I think don't run away from the cross. If Jesus ran away from the cross, we wouldn't be where we are today. But he put the joy of the cross before him, right? Because he knew that the end result of the cross was for his bride, the church, you and I, to be reconciled to himself, and that on the third day he would conquer death in order to restore us to a deep and intimate relationship with us. So the byproduct of the cross is joy. The byproduct of any circumstances or suffering that we go through is joy if we allow it to. So don't be the victim, be the victor. Don't be the victim when you're going through a circumstance and kick and scream. Ask God to give you the grace to overcome so that you can be joyful in all circumstances, like those priests in the prison.
And as Abuna more famously says, God is love. So
God is love.
God is love.
God is love.
Simple as that.
He is, because that's the most profound but simple of statements.
Yeah.
Simple is the best.
Nothing. We sometimes complexify things that are just don't need to make it too complex. Just God is love, and He's for us, and He desires us.
Remember, I wrote that on my diachnate test one time. On my entire exam, I wrote God is love, and I got 100. So
Tell me who graded that exam. I need to speak to them.
put him more.
All right, and before we go, we have to plug our socials: Instagram, TikTok, YouTube Shorts. If TikTok is still around by the time the episode's up,
It's gonna be canceled. I pray to God it's canceled.
yeah, I don't know,
God.
but check us out on our socials. We're gonna be posting reels very shortly. Mina, everyone pray for Mina that he can sift through these episodes and really do us good.
Concussion.
Do you guys put these on
Concussion's
audio
not
too?
working well.
So we've been trying. Honestly, I'm not gonna lie. We're not been trying, but we should. We have our SoundCloud and Spotify set up, but we just haven't been actively posting.
no.
But
So the thing is that after Kras edits the audio, we have to I don't have I have this one. So Kras takes the audio and edits it, but then after we post it, we just delete it. So we don't save that edited audio. So that's why
We'll figure it
another
out.
step that we
we'll get it. We'll get it.
Yeah.
And
Season two audio.
Season 2, we're gonna work
Season
on
2
it.
We're on
audio.
it.
And
Spotify,
Spotify, and
Apple
SoundCloud.
Music.
Apple Music.
Apple Music one day if we have the money. And don't just watch Scarlet sermons, guys. I'm aware that Abuna also has a podcast. Do you want to talk about it a little bit? Your podcast?
Not really.
No. Okay. Abuna has a podcast. You wanna
I'm just joking. I'm just joking. I don't like to shamefully plug my own podcast and your podcast.
No, please. Plug it.
It's called the Reintroduction Podcast. I'm sure people can find it.
Reintroduction podcast.
We'll
guys.
drop the link below.
We'll put that in. Before we go, it's been Anthony,
It's been Mark.
It's Mina.
George.
and we're joined with
Father Elijah.
Elijah. And thank you guys so much for watching.
Peace.